Good afternoon and evening, Vibers. It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me on Northern Vibe. I really appreciate I find it hard to articulate the amount of gratitude actually I have for the amount of support and the fact that this hobby podcast that really came ex nihilo and it's just done by a chap in his study gets so much support. So many people are sharing, so many people are telling me, giving me lines for guests. And so many people are liking, sharing, subscribing to both this and on YouTube. It's genuinely humbling. Thank you from the bottom of my heart so much. And I really appreciate the fact that so many people seem to want to join me on this, what is in effect an intellectual journey to cultivate curiosity. Now, about tonight's interview, this is seriously a quite intense and emotional interview. I don't normally do trigger warnings, but those affected by suicide may find parts of this interview very distressing indeed. And as a result, viewer discretion is advised. This week, I'm talking to three Cape York mothers, Jackie Perry, Debbie Jackson, and Karen Liddy, who are the driving force behind an excellent initiative called Talk About It Tuesday. It's a suicide prevention initiative. These three ladies all lost their sons and for some of them other relatives as well, tragically, to suicide. And as a consequence, they've started up this initiative. It's a great initiative. And I know all of these ladies personally. I really want to commend the courage that my friend showed during this interview discussing a very personal and very painful subject. Now, you're going to notice quite a few jumps in the conversation. It appears to go like forward and back. That's because, and lack of continuity sometimes in the conversation. That's because I've had to edit parts of the interview because I know the ladies, I didn't get them to introduce themselves to the end. So I've put the introduction at the beginning and I assumed a certain amount of, because I had knowledge of the event, I didn't ask clearly for a really quick explanation of what it was. So we've got that at the beginning and then a further follow-up, broader explanation. That's because of me, that's not because of the ladies, and it's important to note that. Also, I've edited parts of this interview out because there was a discussion of suicide methodologies, and although I'm not a trained journalist, I know it's not wise to publicise that. And I've got the input of an expert friend in the area, a former guest, thank you very much, Tynan, who gave me advice on what's both illegal to kind of put on and also what's just not wise, what's best practice according to him. And he's somewhat of an expert in the field. So again, I thank him very much for that. I apologise for these skips, but they are unavoidable. Otherwise, what you're going to see tonight is very raw interview indeed. Now, the concept behind Let's Talk About It Tuesday is quite simple. People wear a shirt that starts a conversation so people feel comfortable to talk. So please, if you like this initiative and you want to get your workplace involved, and if you like the interview and you want to get the initiative and the topic spread, please share this far and wide to pages you're associated with and through your networks. I'll also put the YouTube hyperlink on there for people who want to share outside of Facebook. I've had people contact me and say, hey, look, I really want to share, but I want to share the YouTube one. So I'll put that in there as well. So of course, if you've got any suggestions for guests, anyone who wants to come on or you want to come on yourself, please reach out to me. I've titled this interview Good Grief because these three mothers have channeled their grief and pain into something good. So without further ado, I'm going to play the interview for us now.
My name's Debbie Jackson and I live in Cape York.
My name is Karen Liddy and I live in Cowan.
My name is Jackie Perry and I live in Cowan.
What does Talk About Tuesday look like?
So Talk About It Tuesday is to bring awareness about the huge problem of mental health issues and suicide within Cape York Peninsula. And we'd like to call on businesses, services, and corporations to show their support to their workers, to their communities, by wearing a trademark shirt on a Tuesday or a Friday or some day in the week, so that we make this problem visible to everybody. And hopefully through getting this sort of attention, we can start to get more services and more help up here.
And how can people get the shirts?
They go onto the Trade Mutt website. There's a variety of shirts they can order. You know, you order whatever shirt you like, and if you can just, the money from those shirts goes towards a free mental health service through Trade Mutt for people in the trade industry. So like even buying your shirt is helping in a way, because it's helping to give free service to mental health services for tradies.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for coming on Northern Vibe. I really appreciate you taking the time. And on a personal note, it's so good to see you all.
Thanks for having us, Matt.
You too, Matt.
What is Talk About It Tuesday all about?
Jackie,
Um,
you need to answer that one.
Okay, Deb, no worries.
All about.
We've
Jackie,
all
you
lost
need to
someone
answer
to
that.
suicide, and Debbie and I were chatting one day, and we said, you know, it's great that we have Are You OK Day, and we have the Conquer the Corrugations up here as well, a yearly event. But she said, you know, like she felt that that was the only time that you could actually talk about a subject like this. And so my daughter Claire actually inspired me to start something up here, because she works for Tonkin Steel and Cans, and she got, after we lost Stan, all her work colleagues supported her by wearing a Trade Mutt shirt on a Friday. And I thought, why can't we do that in the Cape to show people who are suffering from mental health and people who have lost someone by suicide, that people in the community are thinking of them and are supporting them. And Tuesday, because both Debbie and I lost our loved ones on a Tuesday, we lost our boys on a Tuesday. And, but it's not just wear it on a Tuesday. Karen here, you know, they lost their loved one on a Friday. So all the Lama Lama Rangers are going to wear their shirts on a Friday in honor of their loved one. And yeah, I just think that it's a good thing to show people out there that there are caring people in the world that are thinking about them.
Wow. Okay, and look, awareness is a huge problem in the Cape, really, isn't it? So are there any opportunities for businesses and services to show support to people through this project?
Yeah, I know in Cohen that we've had a lot of, and in Weeper too, actually, we've had a great response to this. And I've even had people, you know, relatives in Brisbane and that have said, you know, I'm going to wear a shirt, you know, I'm going to support this. So I think, and, you know, look at Karen in her beautiful Lama Lama Ranger shirt here, you know, everybody seems to want to get behind it and make a difference, because it is a big problem in the Cape. Deb or Karen, you want to say something?
Yeah, just to add on what Jack said, it was only, we went to our first meeting with Debbie and Jackie at the Wallaby here in Cohen. There was a group of probably about 10 of us there, but we came together and shared our losses in our families of our loved ones. So it was there and then that we decided as Lama Lama Rangers and Yinjin Aboriginal Corporation that we would be a support for Jackie and Debbie and everyone else throughout that have lost a loved one to suicide. And as you can see, this was only last week we ordered our shirts, but as you see today, I'm wearing my shirt proudly. And when Jackie asked us to join her in suicide prevention and mental health illness, yeah, we was too happy to come aboard and be there and be a support to Jackie and Debbie.
So everybody can see the shirts that the others are wearing. Karen, could you hold up the sleeves so we can see the sleeves there? Wow. That is so cool. If you're all up to it, I'll get you to say, you know, personally why you're you're part of this project, and if you feel inclined to, share your personal story, it's okay. We'll start off with Debbie, and then we'll go to Karen, and then Jackie. If that's okay, we'll just go clockwise. You got
Yep.
Yeah.
happy with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt, it's 8 years this year since we lost Dylan, and it's been a long road. As they mentioned before, when we lost Dylan, there wasn't much help in up in the Cape. There was Lifeline and stuff, but it was all very outdated with just to try and talk about it to other people. It still had a very high stigma back then. I found a lot of friends had dropped off. They just didn't know what to say to us to help us through it. But Dylan suffered for a while with mental health. He had Asperger's. He just marched to a different beat, that's all. And one day it was just he couldn't do it anymore. And we thought the day before he rang us, and I thought, oh, it's turning. He sounds really happy. We're doing the right thing by sending him to a counsellor and then the next day he was gone. We all go through different bouts of emotion with it. The guilt, it's just everything that goes with it. Lose my train of thought really fast. It just rocked us as a family, and you're just in shock, numb for months afterwards. And the hardest part was after all the dust settled, everyone came together. We all had the funeral, the wake, everything, and then gradually people would die off. But you're left there standing and wondering, well, what do I do next? Where do we go from here? No one, and I'm sure Jackie and Karen will understand that as well. It's like everybody else's life is moving on. And I know it's grief. It's still grief, but suicide is different because it was at their hands. It was their choice. And there's nothing that we could do about it at that time. And I think that's what makes suicide hard, is because it was their choice. There's nothing like, I think if we would have been there, if I would have rang him that day, would he still be here? But these are questions that you ask yourself, but you can't live in that area either, because it just eats away at your soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is a pretty tough interview already, and I just really want to acknowledge the courage of all of you from coming on and telling these incredible stories. And it's quite moving actually, and God willing, something good will come out of this. Karen, are you willing to tell us from your perspective?
Yeah. Well, since we lost Sister Rhonda's eldest boy, the only son in the family, we came together as a family, but just on our own, and tried to and coped, huddled together and be there for each other, a support group for each other, and everyone that was within us, our own group, like the Bassinis and Liddy families. And we really didn't speak much, but just talk about the good things about him. And that was hard, because everybody, and then we talked about the funny side of him, and he was only a little guy, and there's things that we still do today that we talk about him on what he was doing. And then, like, he passed on in February on the 26th, which is a sad loss for us, because that's the same day as my birthday and his mum Rhonda. We shared the same date, so we lost him then, but didn't find him until, weeks later. And every year we'll remember him because we share the same birthday, but it's his passing day. But for us, I think within our own clan group, just us family, we support each other. And then it wasn't until 2 days after Christmas with Rhonda's eldest child, Chantal, that we've lost her to, suicide. And like I remember coming back from Cairns 2 days, the night she was in hospital, it was a Thursday. So by the time I got here about 10 o'clock that night, I didn't really know she was in the clinic because she was hitting her head, going backwards and hitting it on the bitumen, and she hurt herself there. But it wasn't until young Isaac Rockaby came over to Seppi's house and was telling me about her there. So, I was tired, but it didn't really matter to me that I was tired after driving. But I got up and went over and saw her. And then she was sitting in bed and was laughing and talking up, smiling to Dave and telling a story. And then she told me she loved me. And I said, yeah, I love you too. I love you always. I gave her a hug. And then while they was cleaning her sore, Dave spoke to me to say that she shouldn't be left alone like tonight. And without even saying, no, I can't take her in, I just said, yeah, I'll take her home. So I kept her at my place for 2 nights. And I took her home that Thursday, and then she had a cigarette out on the veranda, and I made her bed, and then she comes in, and I said, you're going to sleep on this bed, and I'll sleep next to you on my bed. And she sits on it, and oh, this is a nice bed. It's nice and soft. I said, that's your nephew, young Tyler's bed. Oh, so soft. And then she lied down on her bed, and then she was snoring. But she got up in the morning and went down to Seppi's, and then I thought she would just stay away then and continue doing what she was doing the previous night, like going back to drinking. But she came back home, so she slept with me 2 nights, and then it was when we had Christmas the next day. We was down at Shanine's place in Farron, and then like everything was good with her. Sat around, took photos of her, and then and then I said when we went home, and then I said to Seppi, because she had a few, but she was still herself, but she wasn't drunk or anything. She was just getting into that Christmas spirit, but still sober. And then I rang Seppi and said, can you ask her if she wants to come home now and I'll come down, or she's going to camp there since she's having a few with you guys. So Seppi said she'll stay there because she was having a few with Seppi and the families. So I said, no worries, I'll see you tomorrow. But that was the only time, like the Christmas was the only time I saw her.
It's got to be, yeah, look, it's so brave for telling your stories, and thanks very much. It's the sense of grief and loss, it's just.
Yeah. It's just still too raw that it's still in me. And
it's okay, mate.
I know. Sometimes I blame myself for what has happened, but I know I can't be at the same place wherever she is, just taking care of her.
Yeah.
But didn't think to me that she would go out like that. And it's just so hard to believe that she's not here anymore, and it still hurts me so much. But our days spent talking about the good things that we did with her, and we always cherish the memories that we had with her. And on another note, but we're talking about mental illness and suicide awareness and prevention. And my youngest son, you probably know him, young Brandon.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but this happened at Port Stewart. He was being himself, had a few to drink, and then he's very cheeky, giving us all cheek, but we gave cheek back to him, and then all of a sudden it just went quiet. but luckily we were sitting up, we were still awake by 11:30. So, and then we heard him, then he comes over with us gold, rolling a cigarette. And then lucky I had my torch with me, and then Elaine was talking on the phone, and she said, "Oh, you better shine over there and see what's happening," because she heard a chair kicked, put him on his side, and just constantly kept talking to him until we got him back to breathing again. But that was way before Chantal's passing. And yeah, that kind of shook us up. And I told him the same thing, like, you know, you frightened me very much, me and Elaine and your uncle, about what you do. Don't do that. But then, yeah, and then, you know, with young Chantal, it's just, you know, they're reaching out for help. It's just sometimes they get knocked back, and all they want to do is talk to somebody and tell a story of themselves about what's happening around them. We can't see it. It's inside of them, and they sometimes I think they want to share it, and I know they want to talk about the issues because they all have illness, whether it's alcohol or drugs or heavy substance. But I've always spoke to Chantal and tell her, you know, sometimes it's not good that you mix alcohol and drugs together because it's the wrong mix, and it will hurt you if you don't control it. But upon that, there's other issues that was a burden to Chantal, because like young Patrick and then young Jordan passed away before that. And
God alone knows what's going through the mind of someone that's suffering that so much. And again, thank you so much for your you know, I can't imagine how tough it is for you to talk about this, and God willing, something good will come of it. Jackie, you know, the specific details, just, you know, whatever, you know, if you just want to frame it around how and why it motivated you, or, you know, whatever it is you're happy to discuss.
Is that me?
Yeah.
That?
Yeah.
Okay. My story is a bit the same as Karen's. On my 60th birthday last year, my son left this earth. He wrote us a text and said, "Mum and Dad, I love you. I'll see you on the other side." And we frantically rang police and ambulance and everything. And the police got there and worked on him for quite a while, but it was too late. And yeah, it's you blame yourself. You think that you're the worst mother in the world because you can't save your child. And yeah, it's a really tough time. And, you know, it's not only when that happens, but it's with mental health, it's like Karen, you know, it's years beforehand, you know, the threats beforehand, the waiting 24 hours before you hear from them and thinking, is this the day? Have they done it today? And it's just living in that high anxiety all the time, wondering, you know, what are they going to do next? And I know Dan was, you know, I'm pretty sure he was textbook bipolar. So, you know, he would have these really big highs and then he'd come down. And, you know, you just keep thinking when they're in that high mood that everything's going to be okay. And then it comes down again. And so you're just living your life on a roller coaster, and it just really eats away at you.
Yeah. And it's a different kind of, you know, it's a different kind of grief. Karen's kind of already explained it. And you've explained the feelings and the struggles with your own grief, but can you tell me, you know, each how you cope? And again, we'll just go just for ease of communication. We'll just go start with Debbie and go clockwise.
I was lucky that I had friends that I could talk to. I had a friend that was caretaking our place. We went away, her daughter, the year before, our only daughter, and she was my greatest ally at that time. She made sure we were fed and watered, and I'll be forever grateful that she was just there for us, and she just knew, and she just listened, and she cried with us. And that takes a big person to do that, because a lot of people feel uncomfortable when you're going through the pain, and they don't want to talk about it, or they try and say, oh, you'll be okay, don't cry, it's all right, you know. But it's not all right. It bloody hurts. And you've lost something in your heart. There's a huge hole. And I just know that we had to, I would reach out to my friends. I was lucky I had friends I could reach out to, but, and then I tried for answers. I kept looking for answers. I read a lot of books, did a lot of self-help. I think the biggest thing was holding my family together, and that we learned that everybody's grief is different. When you're having a bad day, the next one may not be, and you've got to try and juggle all that. But it was just, you blunder your way through it. That's the only way you can describe it.
Well, I agree. I agree with Debbie, because within our group, it's our family. We're very close, like our siblings, myself, Alison, Elaine, Seppi, Kevin, and then all my children's, just within our own families. We're very strong together, and we sit and talk about everything that's went around us. And then we would talk about, you know, the mental health side of things. There were signs there, but nobody took notice of it. We talked about, we could have been there, but, you know, we wasn't. But it's just all these little questions that we'd ask ourselves. But in the end, we would all reach one question and one answer to say that, yeah, we could have done this and we could have did that for them. But at the end, they choose that path, but we was their support group on the outside of their pain. And that's how we got through with losing young Patrick and Chantal, by talking about them. And like, we never forgot about them. We want to keep their memories going within our hearts, in our minds, and, you know, we'll cherish their memories forever. But also within our friends that whenever we talk to, and like I always say to our families and said, well, you know, we could have done that, but, and that's the only way that we came together, by talking about it. And we felt good about it at the end. Like, there's not a moment that we don't forget about it, because we do. We carry their hearts with us every day. But now these days, it's like, we just think of the memories that we had with them. So we cherish the fun and laughter that we had with them, and not think about what has happened to them and why they did it. Because we asked that question, why? But only they knew that question. And we can't ask them that question now, because they're not here with us. Although we tried to ask why, but it's just too much for whatever reason.
Jackie?
I think for the first few months, you sort of walk around a bit like a zombie, because you're just in shock. And I found that I used to go walking quite a bit, and I used to imagine myself walking with Dan, and, you know, I'd get out there and I could cry and I could yell and out in the bush, and I'd always take a photo each day of something that was beautiful to remind me that, you know, there are still beautiful things in the world, and that this doesn't have to be the end of beautiful things in my world. And I would come home then, and I would put that little photo up, and then I would write to him a letter saying about the walk and what it reminded me of, and just reminisce about lovely times that we had together as a family. And that's how I coped. The other way I coped was, Debbie has been with me from the start, from that very sad night. Deb has been there every day to listen to me. and to give me guidance and to just tell me what to expect from people, you know, what to expect from family. And yeah, I would not have survived without Deb, I can tell you that.
Okay, so which leads on to the next question that you guys have sent me. So obviously, you know, it's not about other people, but like other people want to be able to help and stuff. Like what can people do to support someone who's going through this sort of grief? And I'll just throw it open to whomever wants to speak now.
Well, before I even come here, Matt, and with these shirts, I said, oh, I'll try it on and take it to the talk I'm doing this afternoon with Jackie, and I'll show her my shirt. We just spoke about it, and I think Debbie came with a little book. It's a little book that says what was written on that little book, Debbie?
Just one reason.
Yeah. So I've just spoken with it with Cheryl, our executive officer, Gavin, and a couple of the other rangers, and just spoke to them about it and showed the little book to them. And there's questions in there that you can write what you feel inside and how you're feeling. And they listened to what I said, and I said it's not about not helping, but it's not about being selfish or anything like that. It's about you yourself. If you're struggling with mental illness, if you don't like speaking to somebody, then write it in that book, in the where it says whatever the question is. Just write how you feel that minute, and just put it all there in that little book in a paragraph. So when you come back to it later, then you can read through the book on all the paragraphs, all the question that was written in there on what you wrote, and then it would help you ease what you're going through, and then talk out to your families who are there for you.
That's a great coping strategy. That really is. And obviously, Deb, you've had a bit of experience now. So what would you tell someone who's wanting to support someone going through, you know, this particularly tragic form of grief? What would be your advice?
To listen to them, just be there. You know, sometimes you don't have to say a word, you just got to hold their hand and just be there for them and talk to them about their child or brother or sister. Say their name, because they were here, they are special. You know, just because they passed away, it doesn't mean that they're gone. I mean, they are gone, but it's not.
I know what you mean.
You carry their spirit, you know.
Yeah. It's okay to use religious language. You're talking like Catholic.
I was just worried I was going to come out with something else.
It's yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So
like said, it's to listen to what they got to say, and you're not there to judge them on anything that they say or their decision. You're there to help and be that support person and encourage them. But you shouldn't have to judge somebody who is having a bad day and don't want to talk about anything on what they've been going through. You're just a support person.
It sounds to me, Karen, as if you and I'm just asking, you know, like I'm, you know, don't validate this if it's not correct, but it sounds to me as if you're saying part of it, both the coping strategy and the way that people can help other people is to firstly not be angry with the person who made that choice. Like it sounds to me as if you know, really had to say to yourself, well, I choose not to be angry. And expanding that understanding, the no anger, the no judgment is what helped you and your family and everyone else cope with you. Cope, is that correct? Have I got?
Yeah, you can't be angry on what at the end on what they choose.
Yeah.
You know, you've been there from day one as a support person, as a strong pillar to help and guide them through their illness. But at the end of the day, we cannot judge what path they choose to take. And if it's the wrong one, then we still can't judge or discriminate them for choosing that wrong path.
Well, we've already pretty much covered off on, what are the challenges of living with someone with mental illness and suicidal tendencies. But if you guys want to, that's one of the questions you've written down for me to ask. So if there's anything that anyone wants to add to that.
It's like Jackie said, it's like a roller coaster road. Every time the phone rings, you think, is today, is this the news today? Is it, and it's a fear that you live with every day. And you have to try and control it in some way so that it doesn't eat you up. Do you think that, Jackie?
Yeah, I think you said that beautifully, Deb. That's exactly how it is. It's living in that state of high anxiety all the time. And it just, it slowly starts to just eat you up.
Okay. So what are the attitudes towards mental health like in rural and remote areas? I'll throw it over. Take it first.
Deb and I really wanted to talk about this because up in the Cape, we've got all these tough guys that like to go out pig hunting and all the rest of it. And it's like the old saying, take a teaspoon of cement and toughen the hell up. That's the attitude of the men up here when it comes to talking about their problems. And another thing is the drug and alcohol use, and if someone knows that that's not good for them and they try to give it up, it's like the attitude towards them is, what did Debbie say? Oh, you pussy, you're not having a drink or whatever. So it makes it very hard for them to give up alcohol and drugs when there is such a big culture of alcohol and drugs up in the Cape.
Yeah, it's a bush thing.
Yeah.
Bush thing. It's just so pervasive. And look, I can say, because I was stationed out at Winton for a little while, it was the same out there, out in the far west. Okay. So what are your visions for mental health on Cape York Peninsula?
I've actually got a list, Matt. So
it's your time.
Do you want me just to run through the list, and then if there's something you want to expand on?
It's your interview.
All right. So the first thing on my list is access to psychologists and therapies such as EDMR across the Cape via Zoom. Advise the fact that Medicare rebates are available to people suffering mental health issues and complicated grief. All they have to do is go to their GP and get a referral, and the psychology visits, they can get them with a Medicare rebate. So the cost of psychology visits and that can be, financially out of reach of some people in the Cape. And so this is a good way for them to get that help. Changes to consultation procedures, because our guys go there and they talk to the psychologists and, they can put across a good yarn, good story. But I think that they really need to follow up with family about behaviours, because they're not going to go in there and say, well, I behaved really badly, I got thrown into jail and because of this and that. And they're not going to tell the psychologist that. So the psychologists need to follow up with family, and it's a whole family problem. It should be a whole family solution. The other thing I had was mental health first aid should be mandatory in all workplaces, and especially in isolated mine sites. Funding to encourage grief groups in each community and township across the Cape, and services to support these groups, there's a lot of trauma and stuff in our Cape communities. The other one is our schools in Cape York need permanent counsellors to support children with emotional and behaviour problems. Teachers aren't trained as psychologists or counsellors, and you know they need additional training in these areas, or permanent counsellors in our schools. Local people also need to be trained in counselling for trauma and grief, because you know every year in the Cape we're losing someone. You know, there's lots of very sad people up here. And local people should have more say about what services are required. And then the last thing I had on my list was workplaces allow 3 days for grief. 3 days, and you're supposed to get over it and get back to work. I think that needs to be extended. And that is the end of my list at the moment. I'm sure I'll think of more later on, but
You go, Jackie. I think if we go back to Jackie, you said the mental health process and the need for a more user-friendly system. Like
Yeah.
you wait a long period of times, you take them, but the counsellors have sort of said to us that if you've got someone that's really bad, ring 000 straight away. But that's not always the case that we can use it up here.
That's true, Deb. Like I think one time in Cairns, Dan was suicidal, and so I took him to the emergency department, and we sat in a room and waited for hours. And he, of course, you know, he's getting agitated and whatever. And I had to end up going and saying, look, if someone can't see him soon, we're going to lose him. He's going to go. And so they came and gave him a Valium to calm him down. And then, of course, when the psychologist finally came to talk to him, he's all chilled out. And, you know, it's just like there needs to be a better system there, I think. Yeah.
And that's what the ladies are concerned about fundamentally, is just making things better. And if you've got to this far through the interview, thank you so much for staying with it. It's as you can tell, it was actually pretty intense. And if you didn't tear up anywhere through that, well, you're a bit better than me, and I'm a cynical, bitter ex-cop. So, but look, those keen to support the initiative can contact the ladies through the Facebook page. I've put the hyperlink in the comments field there. If you just search "Talk About It Tuesday," it does come up. Also, the Trade Mutt t-shirts. Again, you can Google Trade Mutt work shirts. It'll come up. I've also put the hyperlink in the comments field there. The YouTube interview, I will put the hyperlink there very shortly for those people that have asked me to share. Thank you so much for the people that are commenting and for the high amount of shares that I've had already. Really appreciate that. Need you to keep that up. Please like, please share, please comment. If you want to follow Northern Vibe too, sincerely appreciated. If you want to follow Northern Vibe on YouTube as well. I've got some, on a personal note, anyone who is affected by suicide or is having suicidal thoughts or anything like that, please know that the world is a better place, I suppose, for you being in it, despite people feeling that, because I've had it articulated to me on many occasions when I was dealing with people who were suicidal. They firmly believe that the world would be a better place without them, or that their loss would improve things, or that it wouldn't matter. And I assure you that's not the case. So if you're feeling that way, please reach out. Know that your life matters, and there is help out there. There are people that love you, and that's really, and all the support services are there. So please reach out. So look, I've got some really great interviews recorded coming up, and almost all of them are as a direct result of leads from listeners, past guests, or people contacting me to come on. So please reach out with suggestions to me. If you know someone who wants to come on, or you want to be on yourself, message me through the Facebook Messenger. That's the best way to get on to me. So thank you so much for staying with us. It's a great, worthy initiative. I commend it to you. Please get your workplace involved. Please like and share, and please get people involved in this magnificent initiative. Again, thank you so much for your support of Northern Vibe, for staying with us this far. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next week.